There you go. So, hello everybody. So we're in the third AMA of Kizuna. Today's February 23rd. Yeah. So thank you, David, for being here again, just like the last time. So yeah, let's get started. If we're all good to go.
Sounds
Awesome.
good to be here.
Yeah.
All right. I know you guys are like, we're not going to do a demo today, but it would be great to just hear a little bit about progress since we had our last AMA. And then also, I mean, I don't know if you've got any screenshots that you can share with people or anything visual that you can just pop up is always great. But it'd be, great to do that. And then there's a question from the community, and I'll have a couple of questions that I'll feed into you guys.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. So should we start with the update first?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So since the last AMA, which I think we had like about a month ago or something, team has been really building and architecting at a good rate. And we're also getting some external help from the GM and others from ICE team as well. So we're really grateful with that. And we're getting we think we can ship out something that people can play with in maybe next month or mid-April. Definitely we will be able to do some demo on that in that I mean when we're there. And it will have P2P chats, group chats, file sharing as well. And it's gonna be, I think, the first kind of usable chat that people can experience that has useful features that an instant messaging chat would have. So yeah, so that's really good. Unfortunately, we have nothing to show yet that much because we only have a bunch of codes and some architectures, a lot of our architectures actually. So yeah. So maybe next time we're gonna have some screenshots. We're working on the UI as well right now. That's why we can't show some much of it yet.
Cool.
But the side on the Holochain, the Holochain side is I'd say 80%, 90% done for the first prototype of Kizuna, and that's really good. And actually, the elemental chat was a really good thing for us as well, because that, I think, propelled the core team to add some features into the HDK, into Holochain development kit that we also would really need, right? So we're really lucky with that as well, because things like signaling other agents in the Holochain network is something we really need to do as well. So yeah, anyway, it's been a really good progress, and in a month or so we're going to be able to show something to everybody. And hopefully if we're going to be able to host users, host other people who don't have holoports, then we'll be able to actually deploy it in our holoport and kind of do some real world interactions in Kizuna. Hopefully that is going to be possible. Yeah, so that's the kind of timeline we're looking at right now. And we're working on encryption right now, and how that can be possible in a peer-to-peer distributed network like Holochain is. So yeah, that's the next, I'd say, problems that we're trying to solve. And yeah, I think that's pretty much about the update. Yeah, on building Kizuna, I'd say.
Cool. Tats, can I ask, but how do you think you guys are tracking to be able to, and have you spoken to anyone within the Holo team about offering Kizuna as a hosted app, so that as we go through the infrastructure to release and then we start to introduce hosted apps to the ecosystem, then you could be chatting on Kizuna. Is that something that's on the roadmap?
Oh yeah, definitely. That is definitely on the roadmap. And as as you said, it requires the Kizuna to be ready, but also the Holo to be ready for hosted apps. And I know, as far as I know, Holo is working, like the next thing on the roadmap for Holo is actually having people use Elemental Chat as an hosted agent, right? So I think technically, if that's possible, then we're going to be able to also provide Kizuna as some sort of hosted apps for people to use, to test, to play with. And so definitely that's on the roadmap, and I think that's like right around the corner, because we can definitely start doing that with the prototype that we're going to have. And I mean, from the user side, it pretty much will look like a proper full-blown working chat app that you can access from your browser, or maybe from the browser first. And so that's gonna be that's gonna be on the roadmap for sure.
Okay, cool. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other, Akira, any updates from you, or do you want to jump into some questions now?
Yeah, I can give a short update as well on the community side. So, coming again from the Kickstarter campaign that we did last year, one of the learnings there, one of the biggest things that we have learned is that we have to kind of focus more on the grassroots kind of marketing that we have to do for Kizuna to even catch attention for more people around the world. And for us to be able to do that, I've been mainly focused on learning different marketing techniques over the past weeks, and also I've been in touch with Eric from Junto. So we're also get sharing some ideas, sharing some experiences and learnings with one another that are, I think, if applied with Kizuna, I think can result into something. So currently working on that, and just hoping for the people's continuous support, the community's continuous support for this, because as we add into this more of a grassroots kind of way of telling people Kizuna's story, we would definitely need your help in that. It's the community that really makes this happen, and so we would ask for your support for that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the community side for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Super. Okay, well, let's jump into the questions
sorry.
here.
Can I add one more thing? Sorry.
Yeah, please. That's great.
And also another update from, I mean, it's not really much of an update, but some people here in Japan is also very, very excited to see Kizuna working. So in terms of like community also, that's really great. And there has been some number of organizations interested in using it as their own medium of communication in the future. So we're also looking into like the possibility of doing some white label chat app services that we could provide to organizations, because that's definitely possible. So anyway, I just wanted to also share that with the community, that we're also making progress on building more relationships here in Japan as well. So yeah, that's all.
Super, thanks. Okay, so the first question from Arya Bata is, how does Kizuna team view Elemental Chat implementation? Please share your thoughts and experience.
Yeah, I think I can answer this question from the technical side. Again, I think I touched on this a bit a while ago, but for us, Elemental Chat is really a blessing, because even before we deployed our own version of a chat application, Elemental Chat is already there, doing some real world scenario testing with multiple holoports being situated in different parts of the world. So in that perspective, really grateful to to see Elemental Chat doing really well, and happy to also see some of the new features that were added because of what was required in Elemental Chat, and we're also definitely using them already. So yeah, from the technical side, we were able to learn a lot, and also kind of happy that a chat app is really possible in a distributed network. Yeah, I'd say Elemental Chat is a proof of that. So that's on my end.
Super. All right. So next one, are you in contact with Junto, Eric from Junto, and how can you set up Kizuna and Junto to harvest synergies?
Yeah. Thanks, Rainer, for the question. The freshest question we had so far. Yeah. It's really interesting. I touched a bit on it earlier. I have been in contact with Eric, and as I said, he shared to me some ideas, some suggestions, and some of their experience as a team. And trying to relay that information to me. And so right now I'm trying to make a plan for that, plan of execution for that. And meanwhile, I've also been thinking like in this kind of community building, holochain applications kind of world, how can we kind of synergize with Junto even more? I've also been thinking about it. I don't have a clear picture in mind yet right now. But if you do have any suggestions, and for anyone who's actually listening to this, these kind of community initiatives that we could do together, just feel free to message us on the channel. Let's talk about it. So that I can learn from you as well. Um, but yeah, definitely the learnings from Junto I received were very helpful in how we're gonna be dealing with the future. But I am still looking forward to that synergy as well. So we will have to brainstorm more on that.
Okay, so color for me. So then, how's the experience of building on Holochain RSM or the new Holochain?
Yeah, so I would say building on Holochain RSM, like whenever you have some kind of problem, it's much easier to understand what is actually going on under the hood compared to Redux, because yeah, Holochain Redux had this Redux. I don't know how it really worked actually. So in RSM, it's actually pretty easy to understand. I mean, relatively on what is actually happening on the subconscious layer of Holochain, and yeah, so that's one. Second is that I think in total we are writing much less lines of code, I would say, so that's good. And yeah, it's just getting better and better, I would say, as time goes by, because things are getting more stable, and as things get more stable, it's more apparent that things do work better than it was in Redux in many places. And there's a lot of exciting features that we've heard that is on the line that we plan to use. So yeah, we're also really excited to see that as well. And it's that's on coding, actually building it actually, but performance wise it's really nice as well. And I mean, yeah, time spent on testing it is much shorter than it was in Redux, but because everything is so fast right now. So yeah, overall it's been a great experience, I would say.
Okay, fantastic. And then, so when you're playing around with Kizuna, how fast is it? Is it as fast as WhatsApp? And like, what do you do to keep the speed up? So something that a user would expect because they're used to instantaneous messages.
Yeah. So I think there are two main things on this question, like two main answers on this question, which is the first is um, there are things you could do on an application layer, which what we are doing, and there's also things that you could do on the networking layer, which is what the core team is doing, right? And as far as I know, and as far as what Holo and Holochain has been updating us with, is that they're working on making the network layer faster, right? And um, so there's that. And for on our end, in the application layer, we're trying to make everything as kind of like reactive as possible in a way, at least especially on the front end side, which is what will be on the devices of the people who will use Kizuna. And it's that like, so we're using like a lot of signals as much as possible to allow people to be allow people to get instantly updated with new messages, and as well as make the functions, or like the kind of like the actual features that we're building to not make the person who's using Kizuna wait on things that like the person doesn't need to wait on. So like, when you send a message, you don't actually have to wait for it to get sent in order for you to do your next thing, the next thing you want to do. So yeah, we're also doing those kind of like optimization so that it will feel as fast as, if not faster than, the traditional centralized messaging applications we've been using, right? Like WhatsApp and others. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks. And so, yeah, what's the most complex thing of building out this, like building out in a distributed environment?
For I think there is, so okay, so like actually coding it, I think, and this is much largely thanks to Holochain as well, is that once you understand, so there's like a threshold where you can, like, if you're over that threshold, then you actually know what is happening and which API does what. And so if you do understand that it's like actually coding it is not really that difficult, provided that you understand everything that is considered as prerequisite, right? Like coding in Rust and everything. But I think what is more complex and what is more complex is actually architecting your application in a distributed network, right? Because things that you were kind of like, I don't know, used to, or like things that you took for granted in a centralized application sometimes may not apply in distributed network. And like things like, because in a centralized architecture, you have a single source of truth where you can get everything. But in a distributed network, you have to think about, okay, you are actually an agent in a network, and there are other agents as well, which so it's like you're trying to make these agents be able to talk to one another without having like things that you would have in a centralized architecture, things like that. And so in that sense, like there has to be this, like it takes time for you to shift into that thinking of, okay, how can I architect this so that an agent in a network can actually do what he wants. And so yeah, I think that is much of what makes distributed network complex reside in. And thanks to GM and others help, we were able to kind of like do that trial and error on architecting the Kizuna on top of Holochain. So yeah, I would say that architecting is much more complex and takes much time to actually be able to do on your own. Yeah, but I guess building it is not really that complex as maybe people think.
Got it. So it's the architecture's complex, but once you've got that clear, building it is not that hard.
Yep, exactly. And actually, like if you have something already working offline, right? Like if you have something working actually in reality, then it's much more easier for you to port that into Holochain, especially if it's working in a distributed way. Yeah. So
Awesome. That's really clear. And so I think we touched on this the last AMA, but it's always a good one to jump back into. So what's the benefit from someone using Kizuna instead of like WhatsApp or Messenger or Signal or the chat apps that they used to?
Oops, sorry. Yeah, well, for me, I mean, from my end, so like there's a number of things I would say that makes Kizuna, like why people might prefer Kizuna than the other chat applications. And so the first is, obviously it's not centralized in that there is no one single entity controlling the whole data of the whole application, right? Like for example, in I don't know, maybe like in WhatsApp or I don't know how to say it, like WhatsApp. What are the other messaging applications like Messenger and whatnot? Like it's centralized, and what that means is that there are servers that stores your identity, your social graph, your contacts, who your friends are, who you're talking to, and they always like it. This is rare. Like it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen as much that people would be so alarmed with. But they can always choose to take away your access from those from your application, right? From the application you're using. And though it may not happen to a lot of people, for those people who it actually happened, it is a great inconvenience. And so there's that thing which we don't have in Kizuna, because in Kizuna we don't even own the servers, right? It's actually gonna be, it's either you're gonna be your own server in a way that you're storing everything in your own device, or you're gonna be a hosted agent where some Holoport, which we don't own, will host your source chain for you. And so it's a distributed network. That's one, and which makes it more resilient and more resilient to attacks and these kind of controls by a single entity. And on an application level, we're trying to implement. So on an application level, there is some, I think, or we think actually, advantage into using distributed network like Kizuna, like Holochain, like Holochain. And one is that in a group conversation, we could actually make a separate network for each of the group chat that will be happening in Kizuna, and that is something that doesn't really work that way in other applications, right? And so since each network in Holochain is a DHT with a number of agents participating in that same DHT, you could actually make a group chat with different properties so that you would have different DHTs for different group chats, which makes it way more harder for people to infiltrate the network and do some, malicious things. And I would also say that for organizations who are using messaging apps like, I don't know, Slack or whatever communication medium organizations are using, they could also choose to use Kizuna. And this is actually one of the plans that we have, which is we're gonna offer to organizations Kizuna with the Holoport. So we're gonna have like a plan where people or organizations could buy a Holoport or Holoport Plus or a number of them, and actually get Kizuna installed with it. And that will allow people to have a communication medium that works as secure as, seemingly as fast as other chat applications, but get their data hosted locally, right? Like all your conversations, all your data for your company, which you want to actually keep for yourself, will actually be there in the Holoport. It's not going to be in a cloud somewhere else you don't even know, owned by some entity that might take away access from you. So I think that need might be more. That might be. I mean, organizations might have that need more than personal. I mean, person who is using Kizuna as a user. So I would say those are the things that makes Kizuna exciting, and it opens up a world where people could converse with each other, not relying on a third party, serving them the resources to do so all the time.
Yeah, really cool. That's really clear. Sorry, Akira, you going to say something?
Yeah. Just to add to what Tat said about the technical reasons why a user should use Kizuna. I can speak on the part of in the way that we are trying to make this in the context of the world in general. Meaning, a lot of these centralized applications right now are taking advantage of people's privacy, in order to make a profit. And we want to start this shift and cultivate an atmosphere wherein, we can create and maintain, and nourish those meaningful relationships that we have with one another, especially when we're talking across the internet, right? And we want to inspire the natural form of communication as well. And we want to create something that does not compromise the privacy of our personal lives. And of course, being built on top of Holochain or written on Holochain, it's really awesome. And the best part, I think, is that we can together, build Kizuna. Like we're not just gonna do this alone. We're gonna continuously get input from you, the community, and kind of build the Kizuna together. And I think that's what makes Kizuna something that a user should be interested or be excited about. I think so. Yeah.
Cool. And then final one is just like after the crowdfund campaign, how are you guys, like two things, I guess, how are you funding operations now, or like how are you getting through to continue your focus? Really impressive, by the way, that you are. And what are your plans for fundraising?
Well, from my end, okay, just add, I guess, after if I'm forgetting something, but yeah. So we are actually, like, we were a dev shop before we even started building something on Holochain. So yeah, it's like a balance where we're trying to always hit, right, which is like how much of operations are we going to dedicate to doing works outside of Holochain, and how much are we going to put into Holochain, right? And like we really want to put everything into building Kizuna, but since we really we need the cash flow to run the organization and the company, we're doing some outside outsourcing work that we get from other clients we have. So that's one. And yeah, we're gonna be doing some fundraising in the future, which we have not yet dated. I think Kira can share more about this later. But yeah, that's one. And we're also getting some donations from individuals from our webpage right now, because we're accepting donations in cryptocurrency forms or in I don't know, credit card or debit card. So people are that's also helping our operation. And yeah, that's just from my end.
Right. Just to add, first, thank you to all the donators or the backers who contributed to our webpage. You know who you are. We are deeply grateful for all your help. But for me, in terms of fundraising, Kickstarter, we tried our best, and we didn't quite catch the break, but that doesn't mean we're gonna stop. So that option of running another crowdfunding campaign is always open. Where we are also considering doing another round, possibly this year, but nothing's final yet. Um, yeah, I just wanted to add that door is not closed. Possibly also we're gonna be doing it on other platforms. So yeah, we'll see how that develops.
Cool. Actually, one final question. Sorry for just sliding this one in here. But then, how are the financials going to work? So Kizuna gets launched, and like the public networks that people are going to use. Who's going to pay for those? Who pays for that network? Who pays for that hosting? Is that Kizuna paying for that hosting, or like, yeah, how will you be setting up that infrastructure?
Yeah. Ideally, Kizuna should be offered as a free messaging applications to everyday people. And so yeah, this is an ideal situation, and this is what we are actually aiming for. And is that so you would have a free version of Kizuna which people could use, which would have some limitations with it, like the file sizes of the files you can send and the bandwidth you're gonna have, storage you could use, but basic features are going to be free. And then we're also planning to offer Kizuna to organizations at a premium price where people could actually, so it's a freemium model basically, and the premium ones are the ones that organizations would be able to use with monthly payments per employees or members of the organization who's going to be using the application. And the one we're going to be offering to the organizations will probably going to be coupled with Holo ports. To host their own data in the Holo port. And yeah, providing them with monthly support and updating and whatnot, and just the use of service. Hopefully we'll be able to incur enough revenues from that and donations. So yeah, the free versions will have a page where people could donate how much they want, and it could be a monthly thing. So those two things are what we are looking at. But yeah, we're also continuously looking at how we can actually keep things afloat while we are offering the service. So
cool. Super. Thanks so much for that, guys. I'm out of questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or share?
I'm good. Yeah.
I'm good too. Thank you, David. Just really thank you for the time.
Super. Thanks so much for sharing the progress, and can't wait to see the screens of the demos. And yeah, it'll be very exciting as well when it's a hosted app on the Holo hosting network.
For sure. No doubt. Thank you, David, for
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
See you.
Great to see you again, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, David.